recorded, and then he recorded a video of me just trying to explain what it's about by just reading those 2 pages. And yeah, I felt more confident, and I think I began to like reading books a little bit more. Yeah.
It's if you I want you to imagine real quick, all of you just try to imagine a thought experiment. You know, we all use these AI tools. But if you could comprehend even 1% of the best material that these AI tools have embedded in their training data, all right? Just, 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 there's no way you could possibly do this because the top 1% of the best training data would be like basically all of the greatest books ever written, all the autobiographies and biographies of the most brilliant, inspiring people that ever lived. And if you could really comprehend it, it's one thing to read it, but to comprehend it and to make it part of your psyche, to make it part of the air that you breathe, and then use that to open your eyes each day and see the world and every conversation that you have, like to be able to pull from all of this, and so you can just bring it in. I have not done that. I would say for me, maybe it's 0.0001%. Okay? But, you know, that's what we're trying to do with this AI tool. It's already read all of the data. It just doesn't frame it right. It's not even trying to. It's putting on a even. It's treating a Reddit post with the same level and gravity as like Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. Like it's not even trying, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to build a new model. Like we need like we need the right prompt. That's the way I would think about it. It's already got all the data in its head. It's just not organized, right? And
Yeah.
so what my wife and I started doing in a way that's really really hardcore, and I'm really excited to share with you guys, is actually coming up with like a super prompt. Maybe that's the right word. It's like a super prompt. It's like the size of a book. It's a lot of tokens, right? To basically
Yeah.
take to take whatever a user is asking and be able to parse everything ever written in a way that's actually designed to be effective in parsing all of this data. And by data, I mean like a lot of the greatest books, right?
Yeah.
And we've already gotten really far here. I'll give you a taste of what we did. So you guys know I like to record things, and Boya and Abhinav know. They've been with us pretty long. That just about every single Weequal app team meeting was a lot of it was me doing monologues about life, and then on my phone and other family members here, we probably have maybe 2 or 3 thousand audio recordings of just discussions, right?
Yeah.
Then you take all the projects that Sume and I wrote, especially just the two of us. We probably wrote like what, I don't know, 1,500 essays that are on Weequal app. Um, to take all of this data and use that to build a model that starts to approximate having a well rested, recently caffeinated version of me that can actually address any question that somebody would have, but that's actually read everything, which I have not.
Yeah. That's a superpower.
Wouldn't that be cool?
It is.
I mean, and not just me, but like a lot, like Sume's kind of passed me on the wisdom front. Like I go to her these days for clarity. Uh, she's I don't know, she had one vacation day. Remember the day that Sume wrote 13 essays for,
Yeah.
just because she was finally had a day off?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really excited to share this. Here's how it starts. Here's the basic. In order to get an AI to actually be useful, it has to understand the frame of the human mind. And here's the frame. Okay. Okay. This is the biggest insight of the month for us. How do you play a game when you don't know the rules or how to win? If you start playing a video game, let's say you're playing Elden Ring, but nobody's telling you that the goal is to become Elden Lord, and it's not even Elden Ring. Okay, don't because then you'll have a conception of it. Okay, you're just playing some video game, but nobody tells you the rules, and nobody tells you how to win. I mean, if you wander around in the game and you start asking people what are the rules, and one person will be like, oh, well, this is the reason why you're here, and you'll be like, oh, okay, but then you ask somebody else and they're like, actually, no, that person's wrong, this is the reason why you're like, what? Sound familiar?
That's life.
That's life.
Yeah,
That's life. So I'm going to ask you then, so you're playing the game of life. Nobody gave you a manual explaining how to do it, or what the goal is. So what's the goal of life by default if there is no spoon? I mean, gold. Isn't that an interesting way of framing it?
it is.
That's it. That's the problem with conscious human. That's what happened. 70,000 years ago, we gained consciousness as a species. And for the first time, we became aware of our existence, but God didn't hand us a manual. So what's the goal, Adi? If you know, like, you respect your mother and Mboya, but you know they're not God. You know they came into existence just like you, conscious, but no manual sent from heaven, like, you know, angelic choirs singing in the sky, right? And they hand you, and it's glowing, and you open it up. You're like, yay! I finally get to find out why I'm here. You know they didn't experience that. You know they're going through this for the first time. Like, if you're not given the rules and told the goal by some greater being that can prove it by shooting fire bolts out of their ass and floating or something, right? You know, that would be pretty convincing, right? You know, if they could just like speak and have their voice boom around the earth and make themselves 1,000 times bigger on command and be like, I am God! And the goal is to eat as many donuts as possible. And you'd be like, holy shit. What's the goal of life by default if nobody can convincingly, convince you that they're God and they know and they tell you? You've already been acting on whatever you believe the goal to be every single day of your life, by the way. It's implied by your actions because we all have to do something, regardless of, even if we don't know the goal, we still have to make decisions. Should we go from tallest to shortest again?
Yeah, we can go with it.
Here, I'll be right back. You guys all think. I'll be right back. I'm going to get more coffee. You can stare at the ceiling until I get back.
Hmm. Oh. Hmm.
You guys are all. Actually, I'll set this up so you guys can see Sakura of Elden Ring sitting here also, like, thinking very seriously about it. She's contemplating her existence as well. One second. There we go. There she is. He's deep in thought over there. I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
No pressure. It's only, life.
Wasije palipesa naambia. Uh, what was the question again? What is the girl look like?
Recording in progress.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, and that's causing the reaction. Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering where the sound will come from. So, the toilets in the room. Having spent a lot of time looking at Sekuro.
Sakuri?
Sekuri, yes. I can say one major goal of life is to have family.
Is to what?
Have family.
Have family.
Have,
Serve family.
yes.
That's an important distinction.
Yeah.
If it's have family, then like running around just making as many babies as possible would be like whoever has the most family.
Yeah.
No, seriously though. You can back out what people do by how they answer this question. Mm. Okay. Well, I like the sound of that answer. Of course, some people don't have family. So if you take that literally, which you should, you have to look at applying that in like lots of different conceivable situations, right?
Yeah.
What if somebody doesn't have family? What if somebody's in an abusive family? You know? What about other things besides family? You know? That's, that's tough.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good. I mean, it's hard to screw that up though. What about who's the next tallest? How tall are you, Jordan? Abhinav, how tall is Jordan and Abhinav?
I'm not sure how tall I am, but I would assume that I'm probably taller.
You don't know Abhinav's tall? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't. Do you guys use? Everybody uses the metric system besides Americans, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. All right, we can just go ahead, Jordan. It's fine. We'll assume that you're both equally tall at heart.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when I was thinking about the question, for some reason I automatically would
people train AI to play video games, and I think what they do first is to go through a lot of different, well, I guess simulations and stuff until they figure out how to, um, play that game maximally and stuff. And I was thinking about Elden Ring because as a, was I was think I played Elden Ring quite a lot. Like I really love Elden Ring now. Like,
Nice.
and uh, yeah, yeah. Thanks to you. I mean, I was well. It's like
You
I don't
can
know. I
you
was
can
just
blame you can if your parents say, "What are you doing? Spend all this time playing video?" Be like, "Well, Joe said it's a good game." You can blame me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is wow. Like, uh, yeah. So in Elden Ring, I actually one of the things I did. So I didn't know I was supposed to become the Elder Lord. I basically skipped the like the initial starting. So for me, it was a lot of exploration in other games. Um, they basically tell you what to do, like on the side. They have quests, and you need to. It's very structured. They have arrows pointing you what direction to go, but Elden Ring is nothing like that. Very, so it is.
You're
It is
just in this
like,
world.
yeah,
And the you do meet some people, but they talk in a way that's so cryptic and confusing. You can easily just ignore them because they don't really make a lot of sense anyway.
Yeah.
yeah,
Kind of like life, or at least in America these days, people are like don't even know what boy and girl mean anymore. Like basic words have lost meaning in America.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah. So I, granted, thinking about how AI trained to, get, good at games and thinking about Elden Ring. Um, I guess at some point I will gain the plot. At some point, I will be able to figure out what I'm supposed to do. And yeah, I don't think I have an answer yet, to be honest, because part is like looking for, to me, like the answer to the meaning of life to me is like looking for like the holy grail in a sense. You
mm.
know, um, so it'd be very interesting to find out.
Trying to figure out. So the goal would be to figure out what the goal is.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I'm being very precise with my language here. You should all practice being very concise and very precise, both concise and precise with your language. And it's more important to be um, precise than concise because sometimes being concise, meaning shorter, that takes a lot of practice. But you want to say what you mean and mean what you say. It's very, very hard to use words effectively when you're talking about these, well, really anything outside of, hand me that banana. Physical, the physical world, just navigating the physical world, that's easy. I mean, monkeys have language that can help them do that. We're talking about ideas, we're talking about concepts, goals. These are all things that required consciousness in order for us to even begin this conversation. That's actually when humans started to develop sophisticated language, was when we gained consciousness 70,000 years ago. We kind of woke up as a species. We started developing more sophisticated language because we were conscious, we were aware, and we wanted to share notes. What are you perceiving? What are you trying to do? What do you think the goal is? So, well, there's a line in Peaceful Warriors that says, "Life is a mystery. Don't waste time trying to figure it out." I think that's one for you to reflect on, Jordan, because you can waste your whole life just trying to figure out what the goal is, Just trying to find that holy grail. Yeah, 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 yeah. Just waiting, waiting. As soon as I figure it out, that's when I'm gonna go, go, go. And it's like, oh man, you could be waiting a long time. All right, who's next? Who's next?
Eminem.
Yeah, I think.
I love Abhinav's voice. Every time I hear Abhinav speak, I smile. Look at that. He's got this. Don't ever lose that. Don't ever lose that sort of like almost like childish excitement and curiosity. Okay, that's very important. Don't lose that, man. That's another one of those things. Like I was saying about Mboya's positivity, you're a curiosity. Don't lose that. And I think you've been through some real shit too. But look at that. You're still. Look at that smile. You're still curious and excited about being alive despite going through all that shit. Good job. Good job. Yeah. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
I think as you mentioned, it's all about just trying to know what the goal of life is, just trying to find what the goal of life is, and just trying to chase that question. But I think it can be different based on the person. For some, it will be uh, trying to serve family. For some, it could be just finding their self happiness and others. So I think it can't be a specific thing, but I think it's just trying to find the goal of life that you said.
Well, that's what Jordan said.
Yeah.
And then I gave him a quote from the Peaceful Warrior to make him question that goal. Because it can be overwhelming, can't it, Jordan?
Yeah, frustrated, man.
So what happens if you're like, well, I don't know the goal, therefore I need to find out what the goal is before I can you can feel frozen. So I'm not so that's not what I said, that's what Jordan said, and I was pointing out and be like, Socrates and Peaceful Warrior would disagree.
Right.
It's tough. Where's Priyanka? She's reasonably tall.
Yeah, she's on the balcony.
All right.
She's going to be.
She's gone?
Yeah, but she's on the bus on the way back.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, Adi, you're up. Well, so one thing I mentioned to you earlier is that your actions imply an answer. You woke up this morning, up with the rising sun, and then you decided, what drives you? Like, you prioritize things, right? What do you use to prioritize? That's the thing about goals. See, we all have them. We just may not be explicit and clear in our minds about what they are. And the worst is when our goals just kind of shift with whatever our emotions are telling us that we feel like in the moment. Those people act like animals because they basically are. I would say that one thing that seems to drive you, Adi, is that you serve those who seem to be good natured and trying to love and take care of you. Which is, that's not a bad way to go. That's not a bad way to go. If you notice that certain people are very consistent in being loving and trying to take care of you, and then they ask you, hey, can you help me out with this? Can you help me out with that? And then you reciprocate. reciprocate good-naturedness and service. Does that make sense? Yeah. And you can see how that might go wrong, right? Like, what if, like, it doesn't necessarily make a priority what your particular, you might have unique aspects of yourself, your own specific knowledge, your own individuality becomes a bit subservient under that goal function, right? Does that make sense? Go ahead, Mboya.
So, what he means, that service just means it's like you go a lot, it becomes a much lower priority. You make the other need a higher priority than your own need.
Right? Right? Just imagine that you're it's like a computer program, all right? You're trying to give an AI, you're saying, okay, here's how you decide what to do, because AIs can't set their own goals. Humans can. That's what we're talking about. Although it's hard, you can tell. Like, we adults are struggling. You can hear us over the phone. Like, we're like, huh? What's my goal? Like, we should be more explicit about it, though. It's the thing that makes us different from the AI, gentlemen. So you should probably know what your goal is. Like, at the most fundamental level, you should write it down and reflect on it. Make sure that your actions are consistent with it. Otherwise, you're just like a feather floating in the wind, right? So, we've heard a few, right? One is to serve family. And that works great. That makes total sense with him. Boy, he's got a great family. Like, I've met his parents. Right off the bat, I was like, I got to meet this guy's parents. So if you've got great parents, serving family, and Jordan and Abhinav do too, but they know how confusing it can be. Jordan, Abhinav, you guys should talk about the struggles there, about like it's confusing sometimes. In my opinion, you all have amazing parents, but like even amazing parents can be totally wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? And so it can be challenging to just serve family, because what does that mean? Serve parents. Okay, like we used to all hang out with Patas, but he's no longer with us because he had a hard time getting over well, his parents weren't exactly as receptive to having people that didn't look like them, talk like them, act like them, believe the same thing as them, being around in the same house as them, kind of isolationists, and it's like, well, that's been rather costly for Patas. Was that the best way to go? Maybe sometimes the best way to serve parents is to help them to understand things beyond their experience. They've never left an area of India. They have very little exposure, so how are they supposed to know what to do? Maybe the best way to serve, even if your goal is to serve family, well, that doesn't exactly answer the question on how best to do that, right? And then for you, Adi, it's been working out so far. If you're feeling good, if you feel like your life, like if you're getting signals from the people around you, and internally, emotionally, that life is good, then you must be doing something right. But you'll find in life that can work for years, but then all of a sudden stop working. You're like, well, what happened? I'm just doing what I've always been doing, and I don't feel good anymore. What happened? So this idea of reciprocation and serving those that seem to care about you, that's fine, but notice what's missing there. Your unique perspective, your opinion. That's why it's so important for you to share your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas. I've tried to bring that in on a regular basis, because that's not something that, well, it's almost like you weren't pushing it, and so I was trying to make sure there was room for that. Maybe that's just because you're trying to be a very respectful young person, knowing that you're the youngest one in the room. But I never treated my daughters like they were less than me or that they were, needed to be subservient to me, right? So there's something missing there. All right. Well, none of those answers are the ones that I told my wife about. I want to tell you guys what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Mm. All right. And this is going to tie it back to weak will, and kind of like, because it's implied within the philosophy there, although I hadn't really made it explicit until like a month ago. But it's a way of framing all the data, meaning all the training data that's ever been written, meaning every written word that we still have record, right? How do we make sense of this? Because it's all coming from humans that all have the same human condition. We're all playing the game of life, but we weren't given a manual, right?
Yeah.
If we're dropped into a game that we don't know how to play, the default goal is to learn. The default goal is to learn, to develop the best conceptual understanding that we have. And each of you just gave a conceptual understanding of what you believe to be the goal. And if you really believe that that's the goal, then you should act on it. Be honest and be very consistent. If you really believe that what you told me and everybody else here is the goal of life, then you better do exactly what you said until it doesn't work. And then if something goes wrong, even though you're doing what you thought you should do, then you should be aware that, hey, it's okay. I wasn't given a manual explaining how to live life. So on the one hand, you need to have enough conviction every day to live whatever you believe to be the goal of life. Adi, where'd you go? I'm in the middle of my speech. There you go. Oh man, somebody needs to do the dishes.
Yep.
All right. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, just go to the
So what? So whatever your goal is, live it, but know that you don't know because you're not God and you weren't given a manual explaining everything, and that's okay. So you want to have in your mind a conception of what you believe to be the goal so that you can actually hold yourself to account by trying to live it. Because the only way you're going to find out what the missing pieces are is if you try living that goal and then be aware of your emotions, be aware of what's happening around you. Don't hide from it. You're going to make mistakes constantly because you're not God. And even if I can conceptually state, I can say it good with words maybe, but it doesn't matter because words are just models. They're not, it's applying it in real life, and there's like an infinite number of ways that you can interpret words when it comes to the day-to-day activities of any one of 8 billion people on a planet, right? So it doesn't matter if I can say it well. That living it well is a totally different animal. So be aware that every day you're going to get more data on how that goal is working out. And you need to learn from that and improve your understanding of life, what it is, and how to play the game. Then you improve your model, your mental model and understanding of how to play the game. Sometimes writing helps if you're not used to doing that. If you haven't built a habit of doing that, then writing it down and making it explicit can help train your brain on how to actually do this. 70,000 years is not a long time. Don't expect that this is going to come naturally.
Right.
And then you'll have a better understanding. And then you better live that better understanding the next day. Don't fall back to your old understanding. Otherwise, you'll make the same mistakes. Right? Duh.
Yeah.
So then you go back at it again. And courage is knowing that you're wrong, but you're doing the best you can anyway. It's knowing that you're not God and that you're missing a lot and that you just know that you're missing a lot. And that's okay. That's everybody. You know? Infinity, omnifinity, this concept of omnifinity, like you're never going to get anywhere close to internalizing all of the wisdom, and that's just the wisdom that's actually been discovered by humans, which is still nothing compared to everything, right? So it's okay. Just breathe. But it's a process. That's the journey part of Peaceful Warrior. That because you can never really fully conceptualize everything there is, this is different than Elden Ring. You play Elden Ring enough, it's a finite world in Elden Ring. Okay? That's a pretty awesome conception, though, because Elden Ring is pretty massive. You know, like I'm wandering around Limegrave and I'm still discovering things that I have been missing for 4 months. Like, what? There was this? There was a cave here the whole time? Right? So if that happens in Elden Ring, how often is that going to happen in life? It's going to happen for eternity. Know that going in. Know that going in. Okay?
Yeah.
So if that's true going in, and it's infinitely more true for life than Elden Ring, then that should give you permission to smile. You can smile. Let's all smile. It's okay. We've all been fucking up our whole lives and we will continue to for the rest of our life. It's okay. It's not part of the human condition or expected as part of the human journey that we're supposed to get it right. The only people that think that they are getting it right all the time are delusional and about to ride right off a cliff. The only way to convince yourself that you're doing it right all the time is to stop learning. Literally. Think about that. Think about that literally. Jordan, I want you to take that one. Can you explain that to everybody else? This idea that if you want to create the mental experience of being perfect, that one has to also convince themselves that they are effectively God and know everything. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So if you if you well, in a sense, if it's God, you will know, and there's no gap in knowledge. That means it has no learning. Learning is in stream of new information. And I mean, if you think you if you think that you're doing everything perfect, then you assume that there's no gap or there's no such thing as anything unknown. You know. So I guess it kind of restricting too because it largely it gives you a very well, I guess restricting way of living life is nothing because if I went into the ring thinking that I already knew it the that I already figured everything out, then the game wouldn't have uh, the awe and the um, well, just the awesomeness that I think it does. I mean, it really will lower the quality of you give it any given experience for that, you know. So yeah, I guess like even for your enjoyment of life or anything, it requires humility towards things that you don't know.
Mm.
So
Can you imagine playing Elden Ring thinking that you know everything? You know, you pull up the map and you're like, well, I guess those are all the grace points, right? And you're just like bored. You're just sitting there, you know, next to one of these merchants, just going through your inventory, like, you know, what am I supposed to do now? And you just start scrolling on your phone. You know, not you, but your character just sitting there, it's like, just right? You know, you're just like, hey, there's another goat, whack. You know, man, I know a lot of people playing life like that. You can see them everywhere. They're bored out of their minds.
yeah,
Where's the next dopamine hit? You know, that's it right there, man. That's it. That's it. So don't do that. You know, but you also don't want to sit there in Limegrave just being like, what's the meaning of all of this? You know, I don't want to go out there in that dangerous world until I know what this is all about. You know, that's not going to work, Jordan. It's not going to work, right? I think that's part of what happened over the past 6 months is that I just like pulled you out of that. You
yeah,
know, that's cool. That's cool, man. You know, you're not an NPC anymore. You weren't an NPC before either. It's kind of on a spectrum. You know, some people are living
yeah,
life more like the NPC. They're just sitting there. I'll use another Elden Ring example. They're like these, you know, all the bad guys you can tell because all the bad guys are just wandering back and forth like idiots. You know, you can see
yeah,
them in real life too. They're everywhere. You know, they're just wandering back and forth, and it's easy to run circles around them, man. I still haven't leveled up my character. Well, I did once. I leveled up to level 10. The samurai starts at level 9. I leveled her to level 10 because early in the game she's level 10 and I added it to intelligence so then I could use like one of those like simple magic wands so I could at least use like some very basic sorcery skills. So I allowed myself to do that. I think one of the other starting characters in Elden Ring um, starts out at level 10. So I was like, it's basically still beginner. I think it's like the Vagabond,
yeah,
right? So I'm still there though. I've made it all the way to like the mountaintops of the giants. I'm a I could actually go become Elden Lord now, by the way. Like I did it. Like I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it because I'm still discovering things. This is crazy. I'm still discovering like caves and I'm discovering secret little nooks and things here and there and I'm like learning about some of these items. I was like, holy moly, this is this particular great, you know, axe. Like when I, you know, hit a bad guy, it actually replenishes my health. I didn't even know that. I'm like reading the description. It's pretty fascinating stuff. I'm just enjoying it. A lot of the time, I'm just sitting here in my man cave, staring at the beautiful world around me. You know, I'm like, wow, this is so beautiful. You know, just like the Siddharth Gautam sitting under a tree, right? Like I'm not even playing the game. Anything that the game was designed around in terms of goal, I didn't do. If it was to become Elden Ring, I'm like, who? What? That's the goal? You're gonna tell me what to do with my life? Creators of Elden Ring, I guess in that case, the creator of Elden Ring is like the god, right? But they're not God. They're just a human. I can play this game however I want.
yeah.
You know, I'm not leveling up. I'm not finishing the game. I don't care about being a lord. That's agency,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I don't think I'm ever going to finish it. I'm just going to use it as like a meditative exercise and just, you know, until I get bored of it. Because it is a finite world. You will get bored of games eventually, you know,
mm,
but not
yeah,
life. There's always more. In fact, what I've found is that the more it's kind of, you know how when you first start playing Elden Ring, it's kind of overwhelming. It's like, how does this work? And it's like, ah, it's kind of painful, like figuring out how the buttons and this and blah, blah, right?
Yeah.
I think that that's like most adults before age 40. They're like, how does this even work? This is so frustrating. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then around, this is the Carl Jung, like life begins at 40 concept. Although it doesn't have to be that way, Adi. I think for you it's going to be like 13. That's the way it was for my kids. My kids are playing life like I started playing Elden Ring after like 500 hours. I'm like, my goodness, like just it just flows. Like they know how to learn. That's really what it is. Like I don't need to level up my character to know how to leap out of the way of something and backstab somebody over and over again. It doesn't matter how hard the if and it's okay if I die, I'll just be reborn over and over, and it's fine. No big deal. It's like get back up again. That's the Trolls song. Hey, not giving up today. Like you could just do that with those bosses until you beat them. It's fine. It doesn't matter how hard they are. So, the game of life, AI. How do you play a game when you're not told how to win? You play by maximizing learning. You start with a conception of what you believe the goal should be. You try to achieve that goal, and in the process, you're going to learn a lot. You know that going in. You're ignorant. It's fine. You've never played before. It's your first time. But don't forget to learn, or else you're never going to get anywhere, right? Don't expect your conception to be correct. If you do, you're going to sound like all those boring people you don't want to talk to anymore. There's another element to this, which is that we're social mammals. We can't really do this alone. We can't do it alone. We can't tell the difference between our imagination and reality. It's just part of human nature post the cognitive revolution. So that's the frame. That's the framing that we gave as a prompt to organize all of the data that my family's created over the past decade. And not just that, because within the training data is everything that's ever been written by mankind. That's what these models, I think, have been missing. They've been missing the right frame.
Yeah.
If you get the prompt right, you can get some pretty amazing responses from these models. That's the process. And that's always been part of Weekwool. Part of it is explicitly stating your goal. See, it's right there. On Monday, you're like, what's the goal? What's your goal? Write it down. And make sure that other people that actually care enough that you will, feel motivated, be like, well, I said I was going to try to live life as though this is my goal. See? It's just, it helps operationalize that process. You see that, Abhinav? Abhinav's our longest standing Weekwool school student here. Abhinav?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I wanted to see your face, so I'm glad you said something. It's just so great to see you, man. I'm so glad you reached out. I didn't want to reach out because I didn't want to bug you because I knew you'd been through a lot.
Mhm.
But I'm so glad you did. I love you.
I love you too.
So then on Friday, then it's like, hey, I tried to achieve my goal. I tried to live life based on this conception of the game of life, for a week. And here's what happened, right? And then people that hopefully care about you can be like, oh, okay, well, you got through a week. You at least, tried to stick with your goal. Round of applause. Because life is hard. Life is hard. Woo! If it wasn't hard, it's like it's like riding around Grave just killing goats. Like that's not hard. It gets boring, Like you're not going to learn anything. That's another way you can tell that this is the right frame. Because if you're learning, you feel joy. Notice how notice how like if you're in a situation where you're trying to kill some boss in Elden Ring, but you're not actually like getting the health bar down on that boss any lower one round after the next, you just feel like shit. You're like, gah, and then you die, and especially Sakura, 'cause she's a girl, so when she dies, it's like, and it's like the sound is horrific. Like there's something about, I think it's like the way we evolve, we humans, that if we hear a man, getting the shit kicked out of him, and he's like, "Ugh, ugh," it kind of sounds okay. It's like, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to sound. But you hear some woman getting hit, and she's just like, "Ah!" She's just like, oh God, it sounds horrible. Every now and then I'll accidentally hit the circle button. She jumps off a cliff, and she's like, ah! Splat. It's just like, oh no, it's not good. Probably better that I don't level up, my character, because this way, like, she can't take more than one hit from pretty much anything. She's very fragile, right? It's another nice thing about the way that I play is that I've just trained myself to just be very careful and really good so that I don't have to hear that noise, you know? But that's you can tell that something's wrong when you're trying to do something in this game and you're not doing better, right? It was like that for me when I was fighting. There's a big bad boss. I'll send you guys the video later. I was fighting this one boss that is inside the capital. It's one of the areas later in the game, and it's just really tough. And I didn't feel like I was doing better, and so I just didn't want to. I didn't want to play. I was like, I don't want to go over there. You know, that's the same way with life, right? It's like if you're engaged in a particular well, at times we felt like that in Boya with Weequal app, where it just felt like we've been at this for years, and it's like, are we getting anywhere or not?
Yeah.
I'm sure that was part of the reason why Patas was struggling, because he was in the role of CTO, and he wasn't approaching it. He wasn't eating his own cooking. He wasn't using his own product. He never wrote a project until right before he left, and he had a big long explanation try to avoid the obvious reason why he was leaving 3 days after Mboya was named his boss because he was being a child. I never read his project. It's like, what's the point? You left because you gave up. And that happens. I love him too, by the way. Hey, Abana, you want to tell him? You can tell him what I asked you to do about Patas. And boy, I'm sure he would like to know.
Yeah, Joe told me to reach out to Paris and just let him know that we still love him. And yeah.
I asked him to watch K-pop Demon Hunters. Did you told him about K-pop, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm hoping he watches it. Yeah, it's tough because in that movie, the one of the main characters, she's like trying to hide the fact that she's got patterns, meaning that she's got demons. She's trying to hide it from her best friends. We all got demons, Patas. It's okay. We all got problems with our conception of reality. It's okay. It's part of being a human being. Anyway, I think he'll come around. He's a good guy. But these tools. I'm really excited about sharing this. I think that a huge part of the most important part of Weequal app is going to be the AI. It's going to be actually no, the most important is this fellowship. Because this fellowship, I had a cool idea, everybody, and boy, I had a cool idea about this, like of having an account, perhaps. I don't know if we should do this, but having an account that is the original fellowship account, where it's like there's certain people, very, very select, that are like, these people all see everything on this account. And this account is the one that can, see every revelation that's shared, and that when we record responses to try to help those that come on our platform, I mean, this is a big deal. I want you all to know how important it is that you take very seriously every single user that comes on this platform. If they share something personal about their life, that they're reaching out in a world that doesn't generally give a fuck. So if we show that we do, and we put energy into trying to get it right, to try to help for real, and they know who those people are, and they know that we all share that same account, and that we're all like reviewing each other's thoughts, and it's like, well, who does that? My favorite prompt ever on my family's ChatGPT account was asking it what's different about our account than other accounts. ChatGPT has like, I don't know, 1 billion users, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing it said was, well, first thing is your whole family's using the same account, and you guys actually share like all the most intimate, important things to you, and like nobody does that. Nobody does that. Like, that's really bizarre. And you all have the same like high level shared mission and conception of what it is that you're trying to do together as individuals and as a family. That is unheard of. Nobody does that. We've got 1 billion users, and those two things are like, people, like, a lot of spouses don't even want their spouses to see their own Google search history. Right? I mean, everybody's so guarded and afraid of anybody else seeing anything else that they're doing in private, that the idea that we would all have a shared account to try to opine on and help the people that come on our platform, when they're asking really important, they're not gonna be asking fact-based questions. Go use Grok, go use Llama, go use whatever. Like, you come on Weequal app to ask the questions that you'd ask your best friends or your mother, or that your coach, the kinds of questions that matter but that don't have objective answers. Like, what should I do with my life? How do I deal with this insurmountable problem that's making me question why I'm even alive? So if we're there and we're actually trying, and we build a model that's really geared towards that instead of engagement, which is the opposite goal. If you want to know what an engagement model sounds like, Sumi and I were we were having dinner. I've told them boy this story, I'm sure. We were having dinner together, just like a business dinner, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. She was 12. She did more at the age of 12 than most people I know have done like their whole lives. It was crazy that year. Oh my God, when she was 12, it was crazy. Anyway, we were just working like 90 hours a week, and we were sitting down, and we heard a couple girls. They were like maybe college age, something. You know this story? And boy, I tell this story. This is hilarious. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's one of the girls was complaining about the boyfriend, and the other was affirming them. But did you hear the complaint? It's complaining like he's taking too much time trying to study. the other guy was like, how could he do this?